Welcome everybody. My name is Heather Corbett. I'm a member of the Bates Alumni Engagement Team, and I'm pleased that you can attend our fourth program in our Alumni Professional Development Series, which is a collaboration between us and Bates Alumni Engagement and Lighthouse Career Associates, led by Bates' own Ann Shields, and more about Ann in a few minutes. Wanted to give y'all a few housekeeping items. First of all, you've probably noticed this program is being recorded. If during the presentation you prefer gallery or speaker view, you're welcome to toggle between those options in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Out of respect for our presenter, folks will be muted during the presentation, but if you have questions, please either raise your hand, the raise your hand function, or enter your question in the chat. So with all that housekeeping behind us, it's my pleasure to formally introduce today's featured speaker, Ann Shields. Her business, Lighthouse Career Associates, offers professional development opportunities to people at any stage of their careers. Ann's a Bates graduate from the class of 1980 and the parent of Keenan, class of 2018. She has over 30 years of career coaching experience, primarily with liberal arts graduates and students. She's worked with several of the top tier liberal arts colleges and has consulted or worked closely with dozens more. And I hope you'll all join me in welcoming Ann and thanking her for leading us through this conversation today.
Thanks, Heather. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for coming. It's a great day to be a Bobcat, as it always is. Today, we're going to talk about the thing that we never thought we'd be doing when we were students at Bates. I want to do a quick poll. Meredith, could you put up the poll question? During your senior year, at what age did you imagine you'd likely retire? So you're 20 years old, looking ahead. What was retirement age for you then? Pick one and hit submit, please. Okay. Same question, different perspective. Question 2 is, okay, 61 to 65, 66. Okay, thank you. We're all fairly traditional. And the second question. As of today, what age do you think you'll be retiring? Okay. If you watched the video that I asked you to just take a look at, it was short, but a lot of information packed in. Once upon a time, when we looked at human lifespan and how we divided it up in stages, we thought of childhood, adolescence, working life, and retirement. There are now 7 stages, with adolescence, Odyssey years going up to more like 27, and retirement age has gotten broader, and old age has gotten, well, shorter, unless you consider life people living longer. Sorry, that T was a little strong. As we get older, we change. When we're little, our imaginations are wild. We have a lot of fun. We play a lot, and we allow ourselves to dream. I would like just a couple of people, be brave, please, to put in the chat the very, very, very first thing you can remember wanting to be when you were little. And I'll go first. I wanted to be the Pope. I was raised in a Catholic home, and the Pope was like the hottest possible thing to be. And so my earliest memory is wanting to be the Pope. Can anybody beat that? Jacques Cousteau, yes. A vet, yep. Anyone who loves animals? One or two more people? Astronaut, yeah. Writer, artist. Oh, this is great. So, we had big thoughts for ourselves. I did this once and somebody said I wanted to be a dolphin. She had a little bit of a rude awakening when she found out that couldn't happen. But we imagine a lot of things, and we imagine things that often that we see in our lives that are important to us. So a fireman, a firefighter, a nurse, a doctor, or a vet, the celebrities of our younger years, the rock stars or the athletes, the astronauts. And as we get older, our understanding of options that are acceptable start to narrow. Well, being a dolphin isn't acceptable and also not possible, but nor being the Pope, but our choices are limited, part by reality, part because of how we are raised, part of the culture of our families, of what's an acceptable profession. Having worked for many, many years with liberal arts students who came from phenomenal schools with phenomenal teachers, more than I could count had parents say, you don't want to be a teacher, that will be a waste of your education. So although as the parents wanted great teachers for their child, they did not think it would be a good use of their child's time and talent. So that all starts to shift as we get older. We have the what can you do with a liberal arts degree? Anything you want. Not helpful if you don't know what the world of work contains. So many of us went through Bates without a broad sense of what the world of work is about. Completely understandable. We just hadn't lived long enough. That wasn't our fault. So our world starts to become more white collar. Professional schools. I know how many people are going to go to grad school at some point. Nearly every hand would go up if a Bates class was asked that, even today, and back in the olden days in '80 when I was there. Today, I want to go through the information very quickly that was in the video in case you watched it early. I'll just do a quick recap. What I'd like to do today is teach you a bit more about the concept of design thinking as it applies to life planning. This will mean talking about the mindset that we need to develop to be able to get back to some of that creativity and imagination and freedom. Because as we go into the last working years of our lives and into the stage of second career, encore career, retirement, fill in the blank, whatever's going to work for you, we get to make choices over again. And sometimes perhaps with more freedom than we did when we were 20 years old. And the last thing we'll do is I will walk you through drafting an Odyssey plan for yourself for the next 5 to 10 years. What could your life look like? And you'll use the design thinking skills and the mindset to be able to get us there. One more chat question, if I can, please, Meredith. If you could watch the chat also. What do you need to walk away with today to have this been a good use of your time? Okay. Has anybody attending started working on the book, Designing Your Life? I'm curious how many people might be familiar with that. If you haven't, designing your life, I think about as terms of sort of the Dick Bowles, what color is your parachute for this decade? During our time together, I will be a guide by your side, walking you through this, teaching you what I know. I've taken a 3-day training with the authors, Dave and Bill Burnett, Dave Evans and Bill Burnett. What you will see from some of these slides are identical, because they are, from slides that they produce, and I am using them with permission in case any of you are concerned about intellectual property issues. Okay. Dave and Bill work with the idea, start with the idea of, we go into work life and retirement life with some dysfunctional beliefs. One of the dysfunctional beliefs we had when we entered Bates, perhaps, was your degree determines what it is that you're going to do. We quickly learned from our advisors that that is not true, and we were encouraged to take all sorts of classes and all sorts of majors because degree does not equal job title. So we were told to get rid of that one pretty quickly. But some of these others perhaps came to us later and have stuck with us. Happiness is having it all. She who quits with the most toys wins. Happiness is letting go of what you don't need. And if I'm going to be happy, I have to make the right choice. I see that with young adults constantly. They become paralyzed about thinking about what they're going to do shortly after graduation because they've got to get it right. They've got to get it right. And by feeling that way, they can't move, they can't choose, they can't evaluate. Instead of having the one right idea, Dave and Bill and others talk about getting a lot of different ideas so you can choose. One of the things that students will say, young adults will say, I just keep thinking of the same 3 or 4 and none of them work. And my head is just spinning. I can't, because there's nothing new coming in. I can't think of anything else. And the retirement, you get to create it. You can have a retirement plan that works for the next 5, 10, 20, 25 years, or you can be creating it as you're living it. Because we keep changing as human beings with every experience, every conversation, every person we meet, it's understandable that we might find ourselves changing ideas about what will be meaningful and satisfying. Directly from the video, these are the steps for design thinking. You have to accept that you actually have something to decide, that you have a problem that you want to fix, that something needs to happen. You need to have some empathy with yourself in terms of, it's okay. I'm not a bad person. I haven't failed. I'll figure this out. Define the problem so you're not trying to solve the wrong problem. We could do that a fair amount. Ideate and brainstorm, coming up with as many options as you can imagine. Prototyping, as you know, is the action of building a sample to test, to see if the design that you're working on is right or if it needs to be tweaked. And then you test the prototype, and then you can go back to ideate, prototype, and keep going until you have something you want to decide on. Oops. Sorry. Too much caffeine. So if those are the steps for design thinking, then the mindset are these 5 pieces. Reframing situations, really questioning your own thinking to see if it is based on reality or on assumptions, common knowledge, cultural bias. You have to be really curious about who you are, what you want, and what's out there. It's a process. It's iterative. If you're 20 and trying to plan the rest of your life out, good luck. Life happens, things change. This will be the same for people who are thinking about what their retirement plans might be. Bias towards action is related to the prototyping. You can't let yourself get stuck. You have to try things, even if they're little things, to test your ideas. And the last, and I think most important, is radical collaboration, which we'll experiment a little bit with today. Radical collaboration is running your ideas past other people for feedback, for suggestions, to have your questions be refined and look for possible answers. Before I move on, again, trying to get a sense of who's here, could you put in the chat, actually, if you have a poll, Meredith, could you put up the last poll? Out of these 5, which do you think will be most difficult for you? Digging into your curiosity, starting to reframe, being mindful of the process, radical collaboration, or bias towards action? How's it look, Meredith?
It's looking good. We're just waiting on maybe a couple more people. Oh, I think we should be good. We'll share the results.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, I'm glad, liberal arts folks will be mindful of the process. It's about process. I love it. Radical collaboration can be hard. We spend a lot of our time being successful independently. Bias towards action is tough if you're not sure if the next step you take is going to take you over a cliff. Curiosity is tough for a lot of us. And reframing, that's undoing perhaps decades of learning. The process that this idea of designing your life is built on is that you are not really planning your retirement. Planning is like GPS or using a map. You go from here to here to here to here to here. You know what all the steps are and you can plan easily ahead. But then reality comes into play. Instead of navigating your retirement, planning your retirement, this process has you designing it. Some people would say, well, you know, that's like flying the airplane when you're building it. Sort of, but you're probably not going to come crashing to the ground if you're using the prototyping and working iteratively. Instead, this process is more like wayfinding. Think about it as feeling in yourself that there's a magnetic north, that somewhere out there, there's a set of behaviors that will feel good, that will make your time seem meaningful, to be the kind of thing perhaps that you'd like to be remembered for, the purpose for your life, perhaps. How do you actually find that? Well, you try. You head in a direction that feels like magnetic north, and you may get a little bit away from it. The compass arrow jiggles and goes back to the magnetic north. You actually really more wayfinding. If you could think about a ship using the stars, they have a general direction they want to go, but it's going to take a lot of tweaking because of winds and because of currents. What we won't spend very much time on today that I think is critical for this process is, in order to figure out where you want to go, you have to know where you're starting. And for many of us, this includes poking around in ourselves, in our assumptions, thinking about our biases, thinking about our core values. Some people will write an obituary to read for themselves what they want to be remembered for. There's an exercise called the Wheel of Life that asks you to look at your life as you are right now and rate different aspects of it, and then think about what you would like your life to be like, and what it would look like if it was like that. There are a couple of really quick exercises. We won't be doing them justice, but I do want to show them to you. This one, although it's a little fuzzy, is one of the first exercises available through the book. Work, play, life, play, work, health, balance. On the first graph, you are to think about how love, play, work, and health are in your life right now. And health can include physical health, spiritual health, emotional health. How are you doing? On 0 to full, are you feeling, yeah, my love is good. I've got lots of friends. I have a significant partner. Things are good. Maybe that's up 80, 90. Play, I need more of that. Maybe it's more like 20. This is let's play truth on the top one. On the second one, where would you like it to be? Think out 5 to 10 years. Where do you want play to be in your life in 5 or 10 years? Where will work be? Now, work doesn't have to mean work for pay. Where is your energy going? How's your health? For most of us, our starting point, the top, looks pretty different from the revised of where we would like to see ourselves. Start where you are. Start here. There are values exercises, a variety of them, values sort card, values prioritizing, that help think about what are the most important things to you. Often when we do those sorts of exercises, what we say is important isn't necessarily where we spend our time. Understandable, life happens. When you are raising a family, your attention goes there. Peace and balance in my life may be a high value, but it's probably not going to get quite the same attention that it might later on in your life or earlier. This is interesting. If you think of these as sliders, they can move up and down. In the market economy, what do we make? We make money. But we also have the ability in the world to make an impact. And we also have the ability to express ourselves and put our mark on the world in terms of a creative mark. Again, think about where you are now and move the slider for money, impact, and expression toward 100 based on how you're feeling now. Where are you today in terms of money? Where are you in terms of making an impact, making a difference? And for expression. This is one that for many of us will change quite a bit as we think about leaving the world of paid work and formal career. The money may go down, it may be less important. Money as status, probably less important. Your needs go down, your kids are grown if you have children. Many of us see impact go up. I want to make a difference. I've enjoyed my career, and now it's time to do the thing I've wanted to do for a long time and couldn't. And for creative folks, that is also shown in a change in the slide of expression. There's no right or wrong. It's a sense of where am I now and where might I want to be. So I mentioned we'll do a pretty quick short shrift. These are things that I believe deserve a fair amount of your time and reflection. It's a place to start. There's several more exercises like this in the book. People who have been trained by Bill and Dave have additional ones. Career coaches always have options in their back pockets to get a clear sense of where I am now. The Odyssey Plan is the looking forward. If I could go anywhere, what would it look like? The book and the video strongly recommend you make at least 3 Odyssey plans. We'll just be doing one today. What might your life look like? This process of designing your life will challenge you to grow your curiosity, to revitalize your imagination, to think about what you want and not what other people's have wanted for you early in your career and for your career. You get to plan it. You get to create it. Yeah, forget plan. It should be Odyssey design and not plan. Okay. No matter what you design today for your Odyssey plan, your imaginative next 5 years, life happens. So you can have an amazing plan and you immediately hit reality. I am going to climb all of the high peaks in the Adirondacks. I am going to ride my bike down on the transcontinental trail from Banff to Mexico until maybe you break a leg or need a hip replacement. Everything gets put on hold and it's time to reevaluate again. With the plan, you're going to look at 5 years. Imagine the best life you can have. Now, you could build your Odyssey plan today based on, if I kept doing pretty much what I'm doing, let's say my life stays 70, 80% the same, what would I want to have in my life? What would I like to have change? What do I want to add or get rid of that will make my life the best life it can be for me? Another option is to say, I'm currently working and I plan to be for a little while longer, but what if the thing that you're doing right now is no longer needed in the society? AI has taken you over. Sorry, congratulations. Thanks for everything you've done for us. We don't need you anymore. What would you do? Many of us have found ourselves at some point in a similar situation. We've been right-sized out of a job. Or we're happy in our positions, but we make a geographic move for the career sake of our significant others. The last one, and this would be fun, I think this is the one that's most fun, but could also be the most challenging, is to do a 5-year plan that is completely out of the box. Money is irrelevant. You have all the money you need to be able to do anything you want, anywhere you want, with anyone you want. And no one is going to second guess your choice. If you've decided, maybe you decide you're going to do the Peace Corps because you never did it, go for it. Or maybe you want to pick up and move to Costa Rica, set up a business for yourself, do it remotely, and just come home to see kids every now and then, if you have kids. Or another possibility is that you were going to build your own small sailboat and sail across the Atlantic. It means anything that you think would be outrageously fun. Any one of these may pull in some things from earlier in your life that you just never got around to. Things that just was never time for or never money for. Money is irrelevant. You get to put in anything you want. Is this fantasy? Oh yeah, you bet it is. But that's okay. I'd like you to be curious. Let go of some of the mindsets of, well, I couldn't do that. That would be ridiculous. What would people think? Who cares? You want to go back and get the PhD in geology now? Go for it. You never did that backpacking through Europe that you and your roommate thought you would do? Go for it. There are only a couple of rules. And one of them, many of you will balk at, you have to do the drawing. Because the drawing taps into a different part of your brain and it will help free up some of the creativity. We are not playing Pictionary, so no one has to guess what it is that you've drawn. You're the only one who has to know what those symbols are. So this example is from a person who said, in my fantasy life going forward, I want to take what I know to help kids. I've always wanted to help kids, and I got into a different path, worked my life, lived my life, but now I'm going to do something different. So what would that look like? Well, maybe it means going back to school and getting a master's in counseling. Well, that's going to take a few years. So at the bottom, you see year 1, year 2, year 3, graduate. But while she's doing that, she's realizes, well, my mom and dad are getting older, so I've got to be aware of what they might need. I have to think about at some point before too long, they're going to need more care than being at home by themselves. Oh, and while they're still alive, I really want to work on some family tree, get some stories from them. Oh, and then maybe I'll write a book and then I'll go on a book tour. And the third one is, I'm going to recruit a staff. I'm going to find the money for my I'm going to build a nonprofit. I'm going to raise money. I'm going to find a staff. I'm going to work on setting it up. And then I'm going to expand to Boston, New York, and DC. And then I'm going to have East and West Coast offices, and I'll scale it up. You get to do anything you want, all built around, I want to use what I know to help kids. And here's where the prototyping comes in. Is going back to school full-time for a master's in counseling at age 57 practical? I don't know. Should she quit everything and just jump in? I don't know. Or she could take a course and see if she likes it. Then she could take 2 courses and see if she likes it. And then make some decisions about what goes from there. Prototype, take a baby step, see how it works, and then wayfind. If I decide to go on this path of using what I know to help kids, what happens along the way? Does it matter that she may never have that nonprofit? No. but she does give herself a chance to look into it, think about it, and make an informed decision about it. The gauges at the bottom are something that comes in later on when you're looking at 3 or 4 or 5 of these things. Is it reasonable? Not do I have the resources, but is it reasonable I might be able to get the resources? How much does it excite you? How much do you like it? How confident are you could actually pull this off? And does it actually make any sense at all? Based on all the facets of your life, does it make any sense at all? Before going further, are there any questions? You raise your hand, throw them in the chat, whatever you need to do. Anything? Heather, do we have any questions?
And I don't see anything at this time.
Okay, thanks, Meredith.
Sure thing.
You guys are all quick studies. And you saw the video, so I was doing a repeat.
And there is one question that
Okay.
just came in, actually.
Okay, go.
How much does reality matter?
At this stage, not at all. One of the things we're trying to do is to get your imagination kick-started again. To let yourself dream the way you might have when you were 8 or 9, dreaming of being in a rocket ship, of having your own horses, of seeing all of the capitals in Europe. What are your dreams? Your version should include bucket list items. It can be very challenging. This isn't realistic. It's not adult, actually, to be thinking about things I imagine. Come on, really? I couldn't possibly do that. Me write a book? Ain't gonna happen. I used to dream of it, but who'd want to know what I think? Who'd want to read what I have to say? Doesn't matter. At this point, nothing has to be measurable. Nothing has to be actionable. There are no key performance indicators. You can let go of that, and you can dream. If you hit a gut feeling of, I could never do this, and you can identify it as fear, say hello to it, let it go. For young adults, I see frequently a fear of missing out. Well, if I choose to go to Teach for America, then I'm letting go the opportunity to apply for a Fulbright. Always either or, either or. And if I don't do both of them, one of them will be gone forever. Not necessarily true. At some point, there may be so many options one needs to narrow down. But at this stage, you're in the creation point. All of the different possible options. All right. I will trust that every one of you has a piece of paper and a pen or pencil in front of you. If you don't, run and get one. I'll hold on. Okay. We're going to go into breakout rooms. 3 people each in the breakout room, but not yet. What I want to do first is take 5 minutes and have you work on a draft of your plan. It could be life is going to be pretty much the same, but I'm simply going to enrich it. It can be life as I know it no longer exists. What would I do? That could be fairly safe and practical, but it's not built on what you're doing now. And the other option is everything goes. Money doesn't matter. Nobody can laugh at you. Everyone will see, isn't it wonderful that she's doing that? What happens in 5 years? Where will you be living? Who's going to be in your life? What will you be doing? What will you be letting go of? Any questions? The trick here is to move fast. Do use the drawings. It will actually save you time because you won't have to put it all out in words. Remember, she just had the picture of the Eiffel Tower. That represents traveling, so she doesn't have to write it all out. No one is going to see your drawings, so please tap into both sides of your brain. Okay, since there's no questions.
And one question, sorry to interrupt. Is this in regards to a fantasy plan or a realistic plan?
You pick. I would recommend going for broke and really pushing your imagination because, well, shoot, if you're planning the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years of your life, why let yourself be constricted by the way you understand it today? Go for it. Bring in all the stuff that you used to dream of. Even if you don't have those dreams now, pull them back. But just one, and you have 5 minutes. And if you feel more comfortable turning off your camera, feel free. Okay, 5 minutes starting now. Go fast. Put your pencils down. I was proctoring SATs not too long ago. Do not make another mark on your page. Just curious. Throw in the chat, easy, hard. Was 5 minutes enough time? Was it too long? I'm doing some small groups right now around designing your life. And I had one small group do this in 5 minutes while we were all on Zoom together. And I asked the other group to do it in between sessions during the week. The people who did it during the week and had all the time in the world had a much harder time because they overthought. Well, could this happen? What would have to happen to make this happen? Is that realistic? No, stop. I'm not supposed to be asking if it's realistic. And they would get themselves tied up in knots. So going fast and the drawing forces you to not rethink. For some of you, it may be easy because you're already starting to dream about what's the next 5 to 10 years are going to be like. Some might be having a hard time because there are more options than they can choose from. Or what do you mean I won't be working anymore? What am I going to do with my time? A friend of mine says you can only play so much golf when you retire. To which another friend says to him, that's you speaking. Some of us can just play golf the entire time. We're going to go into small groups of 3. And each person will have 6 minutes to do a quick flyover of what your Odyssey plan is that you just did. Quick flyover, hit the highlights. Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. Where are you physically? Who are you with? What's your bucket list? And the other two who are listening, listen carefully and watch. Does the presenter light up at certain points? Can you see that the presenter is getting stuck somewhere and possibly second guessing themselves or third or fourth guessing themselves? Do you have any ideas or suggestions you might be able to make that could help the person move their plan further along? Every person gets 6 minutes. We'll let you know when it's time to switch up. Any questions? These are dreams. They're imagination. These are not your plans. It's a practice. It's a dry run. It's not even a dress rehearsal. It's just reading through the script. Have some fun, play with it. Okay, Meredith, how about we go into breakout rooms of 3? And we'll start the clock in just a minute when everybody's in a room. Please introduce yourself to each other and start dreaming for your Odyssey. Share your dream. Okay, Meredith, thanks. Okay, my question, and please raise your hand and let's not use the chat this time. So what? How was that for you? Obviously, well, maybe not obviously. I assume you didn't have enough time. It's hard to fit a program like this into an hour and 20-minute time frame. What was that like? Did you get excited? Did you feel more restricted? Did your plan generate ideas? Were you excited to hear other people's plans? Raise your hands and please tell me what you think. What was it like? What was that experience? Did it help? Don't make me have to call on you.
In our group, we ended up sharing emails to make sure we can all stay on track, or to make sure that if there's anything that we can help each other with, some of our what seemed like maybe crazy ideas that maybe aren't so crazy. And so I think it was very exciting. Went very quickly.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me know that you did that. I had a group this morning and everybody had a half an hour to do their presentation and get questions. So you were absolutely shortchanged, but I'm glad you got excited about it. How about somebody else? Thanks, Kelly.
I'll go ahead. To be honest, our group had plenty of time. We were really, and I think for us, it was, for me at least, it was the right amount of time because, we hadn't really fleshed out our plan very much anyway, right? So in taking sort of the very rough little draft we had of one plan, and we were each trying to be fairly concise to make sure we had enough time. We weren't really sure. So we got each three of us got through it with time to spare, and then did end up, chit-chatting, but actually that led to more that was able to bring us back around to other ideas that came out of that in a less formal way. So I don't know, Bob, you can say differently, but I felt it was plenty of time for, given the situation that we're here with the amount of planning we had been able to do in this session. Yeah.
Thanks, Bob. Anyone else? So what? I love that your group, Kelly, has already shared emails to continue, because one of the key pieces of this is radical collaboration. Because we have stopped because we are so out of practice of imagining, it may be very helpful to have some help brainstorming. I have no idea how we would get this started. How would I get this started? Someone on the call that I had this morning doing this talked about a nonprofit organization that she really wanted to talk to. They have funds. She wanted to start a nonprofit. I went on LinkedIn to see if I knew anybody who knew anybody, and I do. So I can make a connection and help her out. Simply, will it go anywhere? I have no idea, but it's a prototype. It gives her a chance to explore a little bit. Once you have a plan that you're excited about, and it may be, again, your life as pretty much as it is with bits and pieces brought in. I don't imagine anyone is going to up and go to Belize to bartend. Maybe you will, I don't know, but that would be a jump for most of us. But we prototype to ask questions. What would it take? How would I get there? Who would I need to know to create experiences? I am not going to go to grad school without knowing that's something. I'm not going to enroll until I know it's something I really want to do. Take a class. I don't want to go back to school, but I want to get that skill set. Look into getting a certificate. There are ways to get bits and pieces. Bob, question? Okay. You're muted. I didn't hear you. Okay. If we try things, it'll reveal our assumptions about I can't. Remember, we're going to have a bias to action, although some of us may have some challenges with that. The idea is to prototype with very small steps. Set the bar low. If you clear it, great. Try another small step. If you knock the bar over and don't clear it, that gives you a chance to take a step back and do some of that wayfinding. Is this a bar I really want to go over? How can I do it? Who can help me? What do I need? Or is there another way of getting to my magnetic north, to the place where I'm going to be spending my time and energy doing something that's meaningful to me? It's about developing, designing for yourself a meaningful life. How do you do it? You ask questions, you test things, and you circle back around. Nah, I'm not even going to go there. How do you know when you're there? Well, you can agonize. And many of us do that. Can I do this? Can I really do this? I don't know. Should I do this? Should I do that? What about this? What about that? And we can't get out of our own way. The fear of missing out. If I do this, then I can't do that. We may be working with binary thinking that we don't need to have. Perhaps I could do both and. I could learn that skill and not have to pay tuition. I could do a certificate and not pick up a degree. I might not be backpacking through Europe, but maybe I can find a group that does not do the luxury tours of all the capitals. The reality is money's a problem. Life happens. But if you can find your magnetic north, compromise down. If I can't do this, and what would be the next best thing? What would be good enough? Good enough doesn't mean you're settling. If you have no best option, if you're waiting for the best option, you're giving up available better options by staying focused and not moving. There's a flip of the fear of moving out, and that's the joy of moving, of the joy of missing out. If I let go of some things, it'll be hard when I'm letting them go, and then I'm free. I can get rid of my husband's grandmother's china that we've used twice in 40 years. I agonize over it. But once it's gone, he won't notice. My kids won't notice. And I'll be away from one set of agonizing. This is just a very quick run through of the tools in the mindset. You don't ever have to be finished designing. If you're already retired and have been retired for 7 or 8 years, go for it. Figure out what you want to do next. It's not done until you decide it is. And then your life is still going on. So you probably have room to redesign, tweak, and play with it some more. If you are looking at planning a retirement with a significant other, you could each do your own. You might have a hard time getting them back together again. If you each go with the, if I was going to make a perfect life for me, the recommendation is that couples do it together and come up with a plan that both could be happy with. And again, you're aiming for a joyful, meaningful future. There's one of you, but there's likely dozens of options that will make you happy and feel meaningful. There isn't the one. You get to choose. You get to play. You get to dream. I would like to take some questions, if there are any, or comments. I am doing some small groups now. I'm thinking about doing some more small groups going forward with this, possibly as a book group, and do it over a longer period of time, or 6 weeks in a row. I'm not sure, but if it's something you might be interested in, or if you have some ideas about how it might be done, that would be great. If you're looking for someone to do this with, if you go to the Designing Your Life webpage, there's a list of all of us who have had the coaching training if you wanted to work one-on-one with someone. I really think the best option is to do it in groups. So I don't know if you want to continue with each other. You actually have access to each other's contact information through the Bates Alumni Directory. If you're feeling you want more, then I did my job. I wanted to tease you a little bit with this, get you out of a mindset of stuck and start getting unstuck and start dreaming. We've got almost no time left, but I will hang around for a few minutes if people have questions or comments. I want to share ideas. Thanks everybody for being here. I really appreciate you making time for this.